Good afternoon. It's a great pleasure to be here. I feel like it would be my birthday or some other special day since I see so many familiar faces and my friends and my colleagues here. So thanks a lot. Actually, I thought it will be not too many people here since it was quite difficult for me to find this stage. So thanks a lot for making your way, and I hope you managed to get some sushi on the way. So I would like to start. 1 second, I'll just start projecting. Yep, so we can switch to my presentation. So for those who don't know me, my name is Regimantas. I'm marketing manager for the Baltic states working at Google. But today I will present to you as just a tech geek, tech evangelist, a big lover of all new gadgets, and basically share my passion with you. And hopefully you'll get to see some things we haven't seen before. Before I ask, I just wanted to make sure, are there any people who don't speak Lithuanian here? OK, so I'll stick to English. So actually, I liked Andrew's presentation, who presented before me. So he shared some memories of science fiction movies he used to watch as a kid, and which inspired him to choose a work in digital work with internet. And I would like to start with the same. So today I will talk about 5 areas of innovations. And all of these things, 30 items I collected, I observed in the last half a year. So they're pretty recent. And I'll start with VR. So VR is huge. You hear about it everywhere. So Facebook just released Oculus Rift. Finally, there's a consumer product. But I'm not going to talk about that. You know about it. You saw the announcements. I'll talk about more interesting use cases of VR technology. So I would like to start with this movie. I don't know, how many of you have seen this movie before? OK, either you're really watching different kind of movies, or you're much younger than I am. I was 12 years old when I watched this movie for the first time. And it's based on a Stephen King book about virtual reality and how scary it is, and how the doomsday will come when virtual reality gonna hit the street. And basically, and it's so interesting how many things we already have around us. So that was showing, in this movie, there was this equipment, this device, which not only gives you a helmet to experience virtual reality, but also moves you around so you actually feel motion in this device too. And it's interesting that end of last year, German company has already developed a motion reality simulator. So you don't only have your virtual reality helmet, but actually you're sitting in this cable robot. It has 8 wires, and it moves the platform. So you feel it very realistically, the motion as well. So it's particularly handy if you're having a driving simulation or specifically a flight simulation. So it could really give you a very immersive experience. So just one example. Maybe you heard that Samsung has teamed up with Six Flags. Six Flags is it's a big roller coaster and theme parks company in the United States. So they have a lot of theme parks all over the country. And they have the highest, the fastest, and all over of crazy roller coasters. So they teamed up with Samsung to actually attach VR experience to that. So it doesn't look as cool as in this picture. Actually, it looks more like that, where you just sit in a room. It's also a platform. And basically, it also moves according to your, to the story of a roller coaster. And you could say, I've seen that already. If you go to Palanga, they have this like 9D cinemas. So you could experience, there's a wind blowing, and some water splashing. So it's kind of where's the innovation? But actually think about it, how you could reuse the same equipment and tell a different story each time. So you could be in outer space one time, deep under the water next time. So basically, and it's really high resolution and very realistic experience. So looking forward what's coming up in that field. So another example, the previous examples which I showed is more solo experience. So when you're experiencing something by yourself, this is a shared VR experience. And that's something they did in the United States. So they installed a big high-definition LCD screens in a school bus. And the school bus was actually driving through the streets in one of the American cities. But actually, it was timed with a trip to Mars. And it was really, when the bus was speeding up, you would see that it's actually moving faster. When the bus is making a turn, you actually see that you're riding around the base in Mars. And just imagine how you could share that excitement. And it's especially for young kids. They could see the same thing. And this is a very cool example of a shared VR. Another example is photogrammetry. What it does, it's quite comparable to Street View or Photosphere when you make a 3D out of many pictures. So it automatically understands and recreates a 3D model by compiling pictures taken from different angles. So maybe it's quite hard to understand from this example, but I'll show you some other use case and basically how it's made. So first of all, this guy took a picture of his head from various angles. And in the next stage, you can see all these blue squares represent various pictures from various angles. And it understands the depth and the size and the texture. And it builds this 3D head. So you can see here, this is how it looks like when it's still not polished, not cleaned up. After that, you remove all the unnecessary details. You get this 3D model. And once you import it into Maya or any other 3D software, you have a very clean 3D model, which you could use for any VR projects or for gaming projects. So that's very easy. And it's being generated just from single photos. You don't need to model anything in any 3D software. So how many Star Wars fans are there? Yay! So may the 4th be with you. 1 day late, but still it's a big day to celebrate, so we can celebrate 2 days. So whoever watched the legendary trilogy, and now it's 7 parts, so you saw the hologram. So characters interacting with holograms, participating in virtual meetings with each other. So that's been a big wow in 1977. So it's quite cool that we already have it developed. And there's a thing called holoportation. So Microsoft developed a HoloLens. So that's also a VR helmet. And what happens here, so you can see that this little girl is in a different room. It's a daughter of this guy. And there's a lot of cameras capturing here, real time. And it projects pretty much the same as I showed you with the pictures. In previous example, the same happens with video. It shows you the real-time version of what the girl is doing. So the father is wearing a helmet. So this is how he sees that. And basically, it allows real-time conversation and interaction with someone. And that's already being deployed. That already works. So yeah, this is how the device looks like, in case you haven't seen it before. And the last example on VR and augmented reality, and that's a project developed by Disney. So he introduced augmented reality coloring books, where you basically color the 2D version of it, and your character is like dancing, playing with you, and you could see it in a 3D version, real time. So these are examples on VR, and there's a lot of innovation happening, and I'm sure we're going to see even more. Now let's move to something that we have in our pockets and use every day. So what's happening in mobile phone space? So there's a project, Finger Angle, and what it does, it's quite similar to what Apple did with presenting 3D touch. So a bit richer interaction when it's not only pinch to zoom, and scrolling, but actually it understands the position of your finger as you move it. And it's, once again, introduced very interesting opportunities for gaming, as it is some space shooter here, or just have a look at this example. It's a really interesting way. And once again, many things which I'm going to show don't necessarily have a very practical, practical use at the moment, but I'm sure that when technology allows it, people will think how to make a good use out of it. And there's ReFlex, so the first flexible phone. So we all heard about numerous, big TV screens which are foldable or very flexible. But now there's actually also a phone introduced. And it's quite interesting because, for example, now the guy is playing Angry Birds, and you could just basically bend it a bit, and when you release, it kind of shoots the bird. That's one use case. Another use case is basically it let you slip through the book, so pretty much as you would be able to do if you have a physical book, you can do the same by bending the phone. So I'm not sure once again how practical it is, but it's cool that someone developed that, and we could all see that. I don't know how many of you would buy it, but yeah. Once again, coming back to the movie which I showed in the beginning, this is how the virtual reality shooter looked like 20 years ago. Still quite good graphics for nowadays. But what's happening now, we could have a much richer experience by playing in a real world. So Fiverr.io developed a smartphone laser tag, which you attach to your smartphone, similarly like you would do with adding additional lens. And you have a laser tag, kind of a gun pointer on your smartphone, and you could shoot people around you. So that's pretty much how it looks like. Quite interesting, So you already heard about Ingress, where you could fight with someone in a real life, but it's not like literally fighting. You just need to claim the base, etc. So that's a bit more aggressive form, but quite cool. So you can look for the longer video to get the full idea. So that's nothing too new, and maybe you saw a couple of times already today that there is some innovation in the payment area, and fingerprint is a default, it's like yesterday, but selfie pay is a more interesting approach, and MasterCard developed payment authorization with your face. Once again, it's not massive innovation. There are already many phones which you could unlock by looking at the screen, at the camera. But when it comes to your payment, some people might be more reserved about the idea. But MasterCard claims that they really have all the system in place to make sure that you're not showing a picture of some rich celebrity and authorizing a payment on his name, and you're not showing some video. So they said that we have all the mechanism actually to fight it. So that's all I wanted to show you on mobile area. Now let's move to manufacturing or producing things. So you all heard that there are so many 3D printers. There are at least a few of them here in Login, and they've been introduced like a couple of years ago. So what's interesting, so Mattel, so the company behind Barbie, so they introduced the Thing Maker, which allows, a kit. It cost, I think, $300, and anyone could print their own tool, any tool or toy or jewelry. So basically, they even introduced an app, Thing Maker Design app. So you could design a toy that it's only single in the whole world, specific colors, specific features, and kids can print their own toys now. So that's quite cool. Another example is Olo, and this is a Kickstarter project. And it basically, you don't see it that well here, but at the bottom here, there's a smartphone. And so basically that device is just the size of a smartphone. And it costs $99. And you could it's using processing power of your smartphone. It can print out any 3D model. So very, very cheap, affordable way to print out any stuff you want. But there's one big issue with all the 3D printed items. You could really always see the layers. They don't seem very smooth, so they don't feel like a quality thing. It seems like it was made from the cheapest plastic in some poor Chinese factory. So what they did, it's actually textured 3D printing, and we're using thermoforming. So first, they make a form, a shape, and after that, they just kind of have this thing printed and painted. And with just 1 second move, they can recreate any form. So once again, maybe from that slide, it's quite hard to understand. You would need to see the full video to understand how it works. But it could recreate much more realistically looking items than it is with most of the 3D printers at the moment. And what is even cooler, there are 3D printable robotic creatures. Once again, you would be surprised to discover that this is Disney who's developing that. But you can see how intuitive and easy. So on the left side, you just, moving the joints and how long the legs should be. And on the right side, you already see how the creature will look like. And after that, you print out individual pieces, add joints, add the mechanics, the engine, and you get devices like these ones. So these are the robots which were printed out and modeled in this tool which I showed you. So once again, pretty cool. Looks cool, and it moves around, and it's Disney doing that. So now moving to another area, and this is clothing or wearables. So maybe some of you have seen it before, but there is this digital clothing pin, which is just an LCS kind of screen, which you could change any picture or any animation, and basically amend it based on what you're wearing that day. And it could be more dynamic. And it's like, I think, increasing trend with a clothing that has some LCD screens installed, and it can change color and then various symbols. So that's just example of a pin. So the e-skin. So we saw this morning that Arnoldas Rogozny became a cyborg as well. So he got a chip under his skin. So that is less painful thing. You get it on top of your skin, and it could also project various messages, numbers, and once again, you could question the practical use of it, but it's all possible now. And luminescent robotic skin. So there is this artificial skin, which could stretch like 5 times, and could also change color. And it was made actually to make robots kind of more human. So basically, you can attach that skin. It's very flexible, and it has a color. So once again, just cool to look at how it works. So the next area, which I would like to present some of the things that inspired me in the last few months in terms of imaging and how you could produce images now. So you all heard about masquerade. Everyone is making pictures, how you swap the face with your colleague. It's all hilarious. It's all over the Facebook, and it was acquired by Facebook recently. But it's something, I think, even more cooler. So it changes the face. It takes facial expression from that person, and it automatically adds it to George Bush in this case. And you can see it basically, it completely matches. So how it works? So first of all, the software analyzes input source, and it basically gathers all the possible expressions of the face of, for example, George Bush in that case. And after that, they have an input, and basically they're trying to match the same facial expression, and they're doing that real time. So you can see yet another example, how you could manipulate with Putin saying something favorable, hopefully for the first time, for the Baltics. Of course, it could be used for some wrong reasons as well. Just think about, you can have some propaganda, and you can't even differ if that's a real thing or not anymore. So it's a bit scary, a bit exciting, but that's, once again, working, and it uses the processing power of your PC. Another thing is Word's Eye. How many of you have seen that before? Okay. It's a very bizarre tool. Basically what it does, you write a sentence, and it automatically generates a 3D image showing what you just wrote. So for example, here, someone just typed that there should be a pink bed and a coffee machine on top of it. It's all on water, and there's a skeleton in front of the bed. So you just type that sentence, and it automatically generates that. So let me show you some other examples. So here you can see that was the sentence written, and this is the outcome. And this is all automated, so you don't do anything in any 3D software. It's basically just write down this sentence or this example. So you could also, once again, think, what's the practical use of that? But it's quite cool that the software is capable of doing that. And similar example with shadow theater. Maybe also some of you have seen it in the last months. So basically, this is a university project of 2 students from the National University of Seoul. And basically, they developed a software where you import any image, for example, image of elephant, And it models how the people need to be standing behind the canvas to recreate that object. So it could be whatever, a car, elephant, ladders, you know, and basically, and they could even move. So you can see that the trunk is moving when people are lifting hand. So that's quite interesting because it seems that, you know, the software understands the human anatomy so well. It knows actually how they could move, how they could basically shape themselves in order to recreate that image behind them. How many of you have seen these images? Yeah, some of you. So this is a sleep dream. Basically, that's a software owned by Google, which automatically, by using neural networks, generates these pictures. And yeah, there was a big wave of many people doing this art. For me, it's art. There's actually some art galleries displaying this artificial intelligence-generated pictures. But what's more interesting that, you know, it could also be used, for example, now for automatic film coloring. So neural networks understands or makes their best guess what should be the color. So they're using this 100-year-old Charlie Chaplin movie and tries to color it out all automatically. And there is a bond. So you all know how much time. Actually, I almost forgot how to write something, you know. My handwriting became completely terrible since I'm only typing. So if you ever need to send a wedding invitation and you want to have a human touch and write it down, you could get this robot. So it learns your handwriting. Yeah, I can see that someone's wedding is approaching, and it's just the right time to show it. So basically, it learns your handwriting, and you could manipulate, and people will think that you made such a nice effort, really making your setting some time aside and write it down. Nah. Actually, it was a robot hand writing it down. So once again, interesting opportunity to recreate something that seemed something genuine, not so genuine anymore. And there's some other inventions which doesn't fit in any of the categories which I showed, but I thought it's just very cool to share with you. So self-parking chair. Very practical, very awesome, and it's Nissan who invented them. And I don't think they're gonna penetrate the office furniture, area anytime soon. But they used that technology just to show their self-parking technology for cars, but it could also be applied for the chairs. And basically, once the meeting ends, you just need to clap once, and all the chairs go back. So the top comment in YouTube was, "I would clap when everyone is still sitting." So kind of people would get squeezed to the table. So very, very practical and very cool. I think would be very handy in most of our offices. So color changing band aid. So this is, it's not because it's so fun, you know, I just got some scars, so I'll just color with some colorful lead. No, actually it has a very practical use. So for example, when you get burned or you get any kind of other damage to your skin, you could just add this band aid, and it will show if there's any infection in that skin. Whether, you know, if it's gonna be in red, maybe you need to see a doctor. If it's green, all good, it's gonna heal, you know, relax. So some early indication without seeing your doctor. Romy. So with increasing, popularity of selfie sticks and drones, it was only a matter of time until someone would decide to actually bundle that together and make a selfie-making drone. So basically, it could fly 25 meters from you, up to 25 meters, and make selfies of you doing all the fun stuff you're doing on your holidays. So quite cool thing. And when it comes to propellers and drones, that is the most popular video of YouTube of last week. So 85 million people watched it. So basically, this is a YouTube inventor. He used to be a plumber, but maybe decided there's like more interesting things to do in life. And so he invented the hoverbike, and it basically has 2 engines, 2 propellers, and it flies. So the people behind the scenes said that he almost cut his leg twice, but you know, he's still alive and hopefully developing. So it seems very cool. And also, if you have a big enough drone, you could also use it for a very good purpose. And there's a new type of sport, droneboarding. Very nice. And when you think it's like, whoa, it's so futuristic, it's like 21st century, would you like to guess where this movie was filmed? In which country? Huh? Romania? Good guess. It's our Bralukai. So basically, this movie is filmed in Latvia, and it's done by Latvians, and it's completely awesome. So just really Google for drone boarding, and you'll see that there's like some cool stuff coming up. So guys, with that, I'm sure you're hungry for more, but I only promised you 30, and I hit my limit. And let me know if you have any questions. If you don't have any questions, thanks a lot for stopping by. It was my pleasure to share my passion for technology, and see you. Thanks.